Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Now I am working on tons of great content for you guys, a few champions who I'm building up, a few teams who I'm testing out, and some gear sets that I want to be doing reviews on as well, just trying different things inside the game. So stay tuned, subscribe if you want to get a taste of all of that coming soon to the channel. But today I want to go ahead and continue with the list. Every 4 or 5 days I want to put out a list of top 10 something to you guys, and today it's going to be epic champions, more specifically underrated epic champions inside Raid Shadow Legends. There's a lot of good epic champions, so this list, what I did was I took a look at like literally 6 or 7 different tier lists. I took the top 10 out of all of those lists, and then whatever champions I was left over with, I made a list of my top 10 outside what people commonly view as the top 10 champions. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. These are champions that I really strongly recommend if you pull, you consider building up, 6-starring, maxing out, if you need it for the specific area of the game that we say that they're good in, right? And we will make sure that we go ahead and talk about where these champions are used as we go into the rankings. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So first up is one of my favorites. It's Sandblast Survivor. She is one of the new Orc Spirit Affinity champions, and boy does she have a cool look about her, guys. I mean, this is, whatever a Sandblast Survivor is, she looks like she has been lashed by plenty of sand, and her sword is kind of falling apart. Either way, I just love the aesthetic of this champion. Cool helmet and everything. She's used pretty much everywhere in the game. Again, she's new, so you might not be familiar with her, but you ought to remember this name. Make sure if you pull her, you keep her. So she's used in Clan Boss. You can see the reviews here. Arena, Clan Boss. You can use her in Ice Golem, in Dragon, in campaigns. Basically everywhere except for Fire Knights, she can be used, in Spider Den, of course. Plenty of those champions coming up soon, though. So let's take a look at her kit here, right? On the A1, it is Smell Weakness, okay? Smell Weakness attacks one enemy 2 times, 30% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the target for 1 turn if the champion has no debuffs. Heals by 15% of the damage inflicted if this champion is under any debuff. So some debuff kind of manipulation there. On the A2, it's an AoE. Attacks all enemy, and Endless Sands is the name of the ability. Attacks all enemies, decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, and then increases the duration of all ally buffs for 1 turn. This is what makes her viable for Clan Boss. Really solid ability, and her passive is great too. Her passive is called Born Survivor. Places a 50% ally protect buff on all allies for 2 turns whenever any ally's HP drops below 50%. Also places a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn. Really useful and cool passive ability there. And her aura is increase ally defense in all battles by 25%. Another reason, if you don't have Tyrell or that one of those big kind of defense aura champions, you can use her as your aura lead champion inside a Clan Boss battle. I've spent a lot of time talking about Sandblast Survivor, but she's kind of new, so I figured I would spend that extra time on her for good reason. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to champion number 2. So next up is another one of my favorites. It's Gala Longbraid. So she's a Void Dwarf champion of the epic rarity, and she is just insane. Talk about underrated on Gala. I'm building her out right now. I have her maxed out 5-star in really nice gear, so I can't wait to 6-star her. Her attack is pretty hefty at 1432. It's not the highest, but it's definitely, decent, and her damage is great in Arena, and she's used in Fire Knight. So her reviews early on, you can see Arena and Fire Knight, Dragon's Lair too. You can basically use her in any dungeon and in campaign. So again, a wide utility to Gala. So on the A1, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit ignores 30% of the target's defense. Places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 20% of the damage inflicted. Dude, that's insane for an A1. That's an amazing ability for an A1. The A2 is Fearless Aggression. Attacks 1 enemy. Ignores 50% of the target's defense when attacking under a shield buff. Heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted. Places a shield buff on this champion equal to any surplus heal for 3 turns. Really cool second ability too. You can build her too in a shield set, of gear set, and she's automatically shielded, so you can open with the Fearless Aggression, the A2, as your opening play, ignoring 50% of the enemy's defense. And then on the A3 here, another super cool ability. It is Sheer Swagger. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit ignores 25% of the target defense and then grants an extra turn if this champion has full HP after using this skill on a 3-turn cooldown. So picture in the arena, opening up with this ability and then boom, 3 hits on a target, each hit ignoring 25% of the target's defense, and then having another turn if she's already under shield, especially if you have that shield ability on somebody else on the team. Man, then you attack and ignore 50% damage on, or defense, excuse me, on the next hit. Gala's insane. I love her kit. Her aura is increased ally attack in all battles by 25%. So next up is Basher. Basher is another Void Skinwalker champion, and Basher is another offensive champion who I don't hear a ton about, but he's really, really good. You can see on the A1 here, attacks one enemy, 75% chance of placing the strong version of the weaken debuff for 2 turns. Really, really solid on the 75% chance on the A1. Now, taking a quick step back, Basher is good in a variety of different areas in the game, specifically in Dragon's Lair and in Ice Golem, and of course in campaigns. On the A2, he has attacks all enemies, the AoE, increases the cooldown of all the target skills by 2 turns, and that's not a 3-turn cooldown, a really good ability there, a good opening ability as well. And then the A3 here is Cause Fear. Attacks 4 times at random, 75% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 2 turns on the 4-turn cooldown when booked. So you can tell that he has a very unique kit. I like that he has the block buffs on there. He also has the cooldown of the target skills by 2 turns on there. That is based off accuracy, so building him with a high accuracy is going to be very important because of really all of his abilities. The weaken, the block buffs, and of course, increasing the cooldown of all of the target skills by 2 turns. Really solid champion in Basher. So next up is Souldrinker. Souldrinker is a Demon Spawn Force Affinity champion who excels in arena offense, in campaign, in Dragon's Lair, and in Ice Golem. Let's see what his reviews are. Arena offense, campaign, Dragon's Lair, Maneater, and Ice Golem. Yeah, pretty much in all the keeps on top of that. He's a really cool champion because he is a bomber. One of, I guess one of the lower skills in terms of the percentage of champions that actually have it inside the game, but it's certainly a very powerful one. So on the A1, Raising Hands, attacks one enemy, decreases bomb debuff detonation cooldowns by 1 turn. So Souldrinker is a rare champion, or he's an epic champion, but he's rare in the sense that he has the bomb and he also decreases the bomb detonation. So a very interesting champion. On the A2, you can build teams around him, build a bomb team around him. It's deadly in the arena. I'm going to make a video maybe about a bomb team coming up soon. Attacks 3 times at random, decreases bomb detonation countdowns by 1 turn on the A2. And again on the A1, another 1-turn detonation decrease, okay? And then the A3 attacks all enemies 2 times. This is the Magma Blast. This is his money ability. Attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a bomb that detonates after 3 turns. On a 3-turn cooldown, can be booked up to a 100% chance of landing that bomb on all of your enemies. So he lands the bomb on that big AoE attack, 2 attacks on there, and then boom, we have the bomb detonation 3 times at random, so you have a likelihood of hitting at least 2 champions, maybe even 3 different champions on the A2, decreasing that bomb detonation, and then when the bombs go off, usually the team is dead. But again, not just limited to arena. Souldrinker can be used in a variety of different places. He puts out a lot of damage with those bombs, especially clearing the waves, but even against the bosses when you get there. So he's good in a variety of different areas and even different kind of aspects of different dungeons. Souldrinker definitely belongs on this list. So next up is Lua, and Lua is insane. She's a tremendous champion. I'm surprised she wasn't on many people's top 10 lists. She's on mine. She would make top 10 champion. She is a spider specialist, but she's also great in campaign. She's solid in arena. She's good in Dragon's Lair. She's good in the keeps. She's really good at minotaurs. She's really good all around the game, except for maybe Fire Knight and Clan Boss. But anyway, let's take a look at her kit here. On the A1, really solid. You're going to be building her up with 100% crit rate. She's a high base attack at 1564. Attacks one enemy, deals 50% of the inflicted damage to all of the enemies if the attack is critical, okay? So solid there on the A1. Check out her A2. Her A2 is unique, hail of arrows, and it's insane. One of the stronger epic abilities inside the entire game. Attacks all enemies 3 times, so a rare 3-time AoE attack. Each critical hit heals his champion by 2.5% HP. So I don't even have to tell you guys, 3 waves, and then each critical hit on each of those waves heals her up against spiderlings? She's, you know, healing her entire self up sometimes because she's putting out that much AoE damage 3 times on all the spiderlings and the spider. But what about the spider? Why is she such a specialist if she's just damaging the spiderlings, which is not always even the goal against spider? Well, here it is. It's Lucky Shot, her 3rd ability. Attacks one enemy. This attack fully depletes the turn meter, will ignore shield and block damage buffs, and that makes her handy too for the arena against like Richard type groups as kind of a specialist. She also puts out a decent amount of damage just as your kind of main nuker too, especially kind of mid-level or into kind of gold arena range. So on a 4-turn cooldown, Lucky Shot is a great ability. Lua is a stacked champion, and people who have her definitely appreciate her. Next up is Sepulture Sentinel. Now, Sepulture Sentinel is insane. Definitely, again, similar to Lua, she would be on my top 10 list of, forget underrated, just talking about overall champions, maybe in my top 10 Clan Boss overall champions as well. She is great. Knight Reverend, Force Affinity. Let's take a look at her kit here, guys. Well, let's take a look at her reviews first. Clan Boss, she has a 4.9, Dragon's Lair 4.8, Faction Wars, Arena, Ice Golem, you name it, except for Fire Knight and Spider's Den. You're going to be using her pretty much everywhere if you have her. All the dungeons except for Spiders and Fire Knight, but Dragons, Ice Golem, Clan Boss, Arena, campaign locations, all the keeps, and in the Minotaur's Labyrinth as well. So, let's take a look at what makes her so amazing. A1, attacks one enemy, 40% chance, can be booked up to a 60% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. On the A2, and this is a champion you definitely want to put your books in, okay guys? If you get her, invest in her. I'm telling you, she's going to help you out in so many different areas in the game, and that's what I look for, that overall utility in my champions before I invest a lot of resources in them. So place a 60% increased defense buff and a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns. Clan Boss help you to prevent you from getting stunned. Dragon, prevent those poisons. Really, really solid on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. And then her passive is just incredible. It's called Untouched by Death. Now, this can be booked up to a 50%, okay? So 50% every turn you have a chance of this landing, 50% chance when booked. Again, books are so important for her. So it has a 50% chance of completely blocking income damage when an ally is attacked. Occurs once per turn. Dude, that's insane. It can really lend to the survivability of your team, not only in Clan Boss, but anywhere in the game. She's a great champion, and then the aura is right on the money too. Increases ally defense in all battles by 25%. So next up on the list is Zealot. So Zealot is a great champion as well. Kind of before Miscreated Monster came around, he was one of the best epic shielder champions, but then Miscreated kind of outclassed him a little bit. But if you don't have Miscreated Monster, or if you just want like another great shield champion, go ahead and invest in Zealot. So let's take a look at his kit here, guys. Well, let's look at his reviews again first. Arena defense 4.9, campaign location 4.8, Arena, Clan Boss, Dragon's Lair, Minotaur's Labyrinth, basically everywhere, Ice Golem, everywhere except for Fire Knight again in Spider's Den, he shines. So let's take a look at his kit. The Hypnotic Gaze on the A1 attacks one enemy, 15% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn, can be booked up to, 40% chance on that. And then on the A2, Armored Scales places a shield buff on all allies equal to 20% of this champion's max HP for 3 turns. Places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Now this is what makes him so amazing, this ability, having the continuous heal and then having a shield buff that is based off of his max HP for 3 turns is super solid. Unlike Miscreated Shield, where it's based on the damage that he puts out, this is based on Zealot's HP. So you build him with a lot of HP, not necessarily to be doing much damage, okay? Even though his attack is based on a attack rather than HP. It'd be nice if, like Miscreated, his attack was also based on HP. Horrid Dreams, his A3, attacks all enemies, 50% chance or 75% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn. If the enemies are under debuffs, it goes up to 75 or 100% chance. So a super solid champion. He just helps you out in a variety of different areas in the game. We looked at his reviews. You can play Zealot basically anywhere except for Fire Knights and except for spiders. But even if you're having problems with the Fire Knight waves, and you just can't get your keep your champions alive, let's say you have like an allure or something, so when you get to Fire Knight, you're good. You just can't get there alive. You can use him even in Fire Knights for that ability because A2 is really going to help you guys out a lot to actually get to the boss. So Zealot definitely makes the list. Next up is High Katoon. So High Katoon is right on the borderline in terms of a lot of people who have her know, I guess you could say this about all these champions, a lot of people who have her know how good she is, and she's probably the closest to like a champion who's not underrated but properly rated. But then I saw the reviews and I'm like, dude, these reviews are too low on her. Like, I don't know why people are ranking her so low. I have her and she's tremendous. She's just like Apothecary, really, in the rare category. She has the same ability that he does in terms of the speed, but instead of the heal, she also has enemy turn meter manipulation on an AoE. So I love her, and I think in a lot of ways she's better than Apothecary. In some ways she's worse too. It just depends on what you need. So anyway, let's take a look at her skills. The reason I decided to include her on the list is because her reviews were so low, weirdly. Anyway, attacks one enemy, 25% chance of placing a decreased speed. It's all about speed and turn meter with your High Katoon, right? So that can be booked up to a 40% chance of placing that decreased speed. Not bad for an A1. And on the A2, it's Rally the Horde. 3-turn cooldown, again, just like Apothecary, fills the turn meter of all allies by 15% and places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. Important to book her out. And then on the A3, it's the AoE I talked about. It's the Shamanic Lightning, Shamanic Lightning. Attacks all enemies, 50% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 15%. On a 4-turn cooldown, that's really nice to have in combination with the speed buff. So you're buffing your team speed, you're increasing the turn meter by 15%, and at the same time, you're nerfing or, debuffing the enemy team, their speed as well, their turn meter, as well on the A3, and then their speed on the A1. So a super solid champion, and then she has that speed aura in all battles by 19%, and that's something that Apothecary doesn't have. So it's really cool to have that speed on the aura as well. Can help you out. You can use her as your main aura champion if you don't have, say, like that Skull Crown or whoever you're using kind of mid-tier arena as your speed champion, those arbiters or whatever. So really solid champion. Whether you're using her in dungeons or in the arena, I highly recommend you building out and testing out and trying out High Katoon. We're gonna end strong here with 2 of my favorites, guys, and I just released a video yesterday on Umbral Enchantress and Top 100 Platinum Arena. I love Umbral Enchantress. I think she's my favorite champion inside this entire game. So what would a list be without her included on it here? I've already ranked her super high. She's only really ranked high in arena offense here in the reviews, but I would use her in I would use her in campaign locations, certainly in arena offense, definitely in arena defense. She's insane in arena defense because of her A3, which we'll talk about in a second. In campaign locations, in Dragon's Lair, in Ice Golem, really anywhere, even in Fire Knights if you're having a lot of difficulty getting through the waves, but of course she's definitely not known there. She only has a one hit on her A1 ability, but you know, she's great for helping out against waves or AoE attacks. She's just amazing in general, certainly shines in arena. Let's take a look at her kit here. So the Essence Spectre, or Scepter, excuse me, on the A1 attacks one enemy, damage increases as current HP decreases. That's really solid too. I've seen this crit for like 50, 60k if she only has a sliver of health left. So it puts out a lot of damage on the A1. You're gonna need it because you're gonna be using her A1 a lot because of her third ability, right? So on the A2, it's Immolate. These ability names, man. Attacks all enemies, 80% chance, 100% chance when booked of placing a block buffs debuff for 3 turns. That's great for arena offense if you're going against those Valkyrie or anybody with counter or Martyr teams, those big buffing teams. You can totally shut them down by placing the A2 there, and they can't buff each other. They're still going to try, but they're going to be blocked because they're on auto, because they're on defense. And then the A3, this is what she's known for, Undying Evil. Man, this is a sick ability. Attacks all enemies and then has a 100% chance when booked of placing a provoke debuff for 2 turns, places an unkillable buff on this champion for 2 turns, and then places a block cooldown skills debuff on this champion for 5 turns. Cannot be resisted or removed. So essentially what you're doing is forcing, especially in arena or anywhere really, right? You can get through any waves of mobs that you're having difficulty with, even in faction keeps, whatever. You can basically, it buys you 2 turns that only Umbral Enchantress is going to be attacked because of the 100% provoke, providing you build her with enough accuracy. This is an insane ability. It's an insane kid. She's one of my favorite. Again, I'm going to go on record. She's my favorite champion inside Raid Shadow Legends. Last but not least is going to be Maneater. Maneater is a Void Affinity Ogryn Tribe champion, and you know, a lot of people know about him, but I still think that he doesn't give the credit he deserves because, kind of like Umbral Enchantress, he has one just insane kind of game-breaking, mechanic-breaking ability, and we're going to talk about it in just a second. But where are you using your Maneater? Well, in the arena specifically, but you can use him because of his A1 in Clan Boss if you want to. He will, his ability will still work there, and you can use him in Dragon's Lair, Ice Golem's Keep as well, okay? Or in campaign locations. So on his A1, attack one enemy, and then place a 50% decrease attack debuff on all enemies if this attack is critical. That's really, really solid. Having the decrease attack is imperative on your Clan Boss team. If you don't have another champion, you can put Maneater in there and he's gonna do just fine. He's also gonna help out with his other abilities. So this obviously will not work. Siphon, his second ability on the Clan Boss, because you cannot manipulate his turn meter, but it's still a sick ability for everywhere else in the game. Well, not against other bosses too. Some other bosses. Not Fire Knight and Spider, you can manipulate their turn meter. Dragon and Clan Boss, you cannot. And campaign locations, you can. So anyway, Siphon attacks one enemy, fully depletes the target's turn meter, fills this champion's turn meter equal to the amount of the target losses. And then Ancient Blood is his last ability. This champion receives damage and then places an unkillable buff and a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns. Damage received is equal to 5% max HP for each ally alive. So, man, this is an insane ability, and it won't kill him because he'll have unkillable, even though he's going to be taking all that damage. Just got to be careful of Rotos right now in the meta, or other champions in the arena who don't care and will resist the unkillable buffs on their attacks. But other than that, it's an insane ability. Similar again to Umbral. Similar again to Umbral Enchantress's ability, right? The Undying Evil on her A3, that it just is a total game changer, Ancient Blood. This ability is just going to change the way you're playing inside the match or the dungeon or wherever you're using him. So guys, that is it. I feel like I've given you more than 10 champions today. but I guess it has been 10. I have the list here. Just feels like this video has been long. Maybe I've just been rambling too long on all of these champions, but hey, I love these champions. I think the Epic has some of the best champions in the game, and guys, I hope you enjoyed this list. If you have any rankings that you want to see me list in a future video, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching until the very end. It means a lot to me, guys. Thank you, and as always, take care, guys.